I stepped through the front door, dragging my suitcase behind me, the wheels scraping against the hardwood floor as I called out for Camille, Leah, and Braden, my voice bouncing off the walls of our too-big house with no reply. The silence hit me like a punch, heavy and wrong, after 3 days of airports, meetings, and hotel rooms that smelled like bleach. I dropped my keys on the counter, expecting the usual chaos, Leah's music blaring, Braden arguing about homework, Camille shouting for someone to set the table, but there was nothing, just the hum of the fridge and a stillness that made my skin prickle. I pulled out my phone, dialed Camille, then Leah, then Braden, each call going straight to voicemail, their cheery recordings mocking me as I paced the kitchen, my tie still knotted tight around my neck. Where were they? My mind raced, car accident, emergency, something awful, but then I opened Instagram, a habit from years of checking up on the kids, and there it was, staring me in the face like a slap, a photo of Camille, Leah, Braden, and even Rochelle, Camille's sister, all grinning under a palm tree, the ocean sparkling behind them. The caption read, "Finally, peace and good vibes only," and I froze, my thumb hovering over the screen, my chest tightening as I scrolled through more pictures, cocktails, sunsets, a luxury resort in the Bahamas. I wasn't in a single one. I hadn't even known they were gone. My suitcase stood there like a useless witness as I sank onto a stool, staring at the granite countertop, replaying every moment of the last week, Camille's vague text about needing space, the kids' rushed goodbyes before my trip, and it hit me. They didn't just forget to tell me. They didn't want me there. I'd been on a plane, negotiating contracts, while they packed bags and laughed their way to paradise without me. The house felt bigger than ever, every corner empty, every shadow longer, and I sat there, phone in hand, wondering how long they'd been planning this, how many times I'd missed the signs. I'd always been the one to keep things running, paying bills, fixing leaks, driving to soccer practice, but now, I was the outsider, the guy left behind. I scrolled back to that caption, "Peace and good vibes only," and it twisted in my gut like a knife. What did that make me? The bad vibe? The chaos they needed to escape? I tossed my phone onto the counter, the clatter echoing in the quiet, and stood up, my legs shaky, my mind spinning. I walked through the living room, past the family photos on the mantle, smiles from vacations I'd funded but never joined, and into our bedroom, where Camille's side of the closet was half empty, hangers dangling like skeletons. The kids' rooms were the same, drawers yanked open, clothes gone, like they'd fled in a hurry. I didn't know whether to scream or laugh. I'd spent years building this life, our house, our family, our stability, and they'd just walked away, left me standing in the wreckage without a word. I sat on the edge of our bed, the one we'd picked out together 10 years ago, and stared at the wall, the silence pressing down on me until it felt like I couldn't breathe. My fingers twitched, wanting to call again, to demand answers, but I stopped myself. What would I even say? Why didn't you invite me? The question sounded pathetic even in my head. I lay back, still in my wrinkled suit, the ceiling fan spinning lazily above me, and let the truth sink in. My family didn't need me on their tropical getaway. Maybe they didn't need me at all. The thought was cold, sharp, and it stayed with me as I closed my eyes, the empty house swallowing me whole. I stood in the kitchen the next morning, the coffee maker gurgling as I gripped my phone, my thumb hovering over Camille's name, the anger building in my chest like a storm I couldn't hold back anymore. I'd barely slept, the empty house creaking around me all night, every sound reminding me of what wasn't there, my wife, my kids, my life. I hit call, my jaw tight, and when she picked up after 3 rings, her voice came through lazy and annoyed, like I was interrupting her perfect day. "Marcus, what is it?" she said, and I could hear the beach in the background, waves crashing, someone laughing, probably Rochelle. I didn't waste time. "You took the kids and left without telling me. You're in the Bahamas, Camille? What the hell is this?" My voice was steady, but inside I was shaking, years of frustration bubbling up. She sighed, long and dramatic, like I was the problem, and then she said it. "You always ruin the mood, Marcus. We needed this break. No sorry, no explanation, just that. Like it was my fault they ditched me." I stood there, coffee forgotten, the mug burning my hand as her words sank in, each one a jab to the gut. A break? From what? From me? I'd spent 16 years busting my ass, late nights at the office, weekends on call, every paycheck poured into the mortgage, private school for Leah and Braden, vacations I never got to take because someone had to keep the lights on. I'd sacrificed everything, and she had the nerve to say I ruined the mood? "You needed a break," I repeated, my voice low, dangerous, "and you couldn't even tell me?" She didn't answer right away, just let the silence stretch, and I could picture her rolling her eyes, sipping some fruity drink while the kids splashed in the pool. It was spontaneous, she finally said, like that made it okay. We just went. You were busy anyway. Busy. That word hit me like a brick. Busy keeping our life together while she played paradise with my money. I wanted to yell, to ask how she could do this, how she could look at everything I'd given up and still call me the mood killer. But I didn't. I saw it then, clear as day. She didn't care. Not about me, not about us. This wasn't a mistake or a miscommunication. It was a choice. My throat tightened, and I forced out, "You took the kids, Camille." "My kids." She huffed, like I was being dramatic. "They're fine, Marcus. They're happy. Stop making this a thing." Stop making this a thing? I almost laughed, the sound bitter in my chest. She'd packed up our family, left me in the dark, and I was supposed to shrug it off? I thought about Leah's braces, Braden's soccer gear, the house I'd painted last summer, all the things I'd done for them, for her, and she couldn't even give me the courtesy of a heads up. "You should have told me," I said, my voice cracking despite myself. I deserve that much. She didn't respond, just let the line hum with static, and I knew she wasn't going to apologize. She never did. "Enjoy your break," I said, and hung up before she could say anything else. The phone hit the counter hard, and I stood there, staring at it, my hands clenched into fists. No screaming, no begging, just silence, thick and heavy, filling the space where my family used to be. I walked to the sink, dumped the coffee down the drain, the steam rising like the heat in my chest. I'd given them everything, every dollar, every hour, every piece of me, and they'd walked away like I was nothing. The realization settled in, cold and final. They didn't just leave me out of this trip. They'd been leaving me out for years. I turned off the coffee maker, the kitchen dimming as the morning light faded behind clouds, and I knew something had shifted. I wasn't going to chase them. Not this time. Let them have their good vibes. I'd figure out mine right here. I sat at the dining table that night, the house still too quiet. My laptop open in front of me as I stared at the bank accounts, the numbers glowing on the screen like a lifeline I hadn't known I needed. Camille's words from the phone call looped in my head. "You always ruin the mood." And I kept thinking about all the years I'd let that guilt trip work, all the times I'd swallowed my anger to keep the peace. Not tonight. I logged into our joint account, my fingers moving fast, and canceled every automatic transfer, Leah's allowance, Braden's phone bill, Camille's credit card payments, all of it gone with a few clicks. I opened another tab, found the kids' school portal, and stopped the tuition payments, my heart pounding as I hit confirm. Then I went to the emergency fund, the one I'd built up over a decade of overtime, and moved every cent into a new personal account, one Camille couldn't touch, one Rochelle couldn't sweet-talk her way into. I locked it all down, removed their access, my breath steadying with every step. For the first time in years, I wasn't handing over my money to keep everyone else happy. It was mine, mine to hold, mine to decide. I leaned back in the chair, the wood creaking under me, and felt something shift, a weight lifting off my shoulders I hadn't even realized was there. I'd been the bank, the ATM, the guy who said yes to every expense while Camille planned trips I didn't take, while the kids grew up expecting me to fund their lives without a thank you. I thought about the Bahamas resort they were lounging at right now. My paycheck probably paid for those cocktails, those beach chairs, that peace they were chasing, and my jaw tightened. No more. I closed the laptop, the screen going dark, and stood up, pacing the dining room, the silence less suffocating now, more like a choice I'd made. I didn't call Camille back to warn her. I didn't text the kids to explain. Let them figure it out when the cards stopped working, when the school called, when the bills piled up. I walked to the fridge, grabbed a beer I hadn't touched in months. Camille always complained about the smell, and cracked it open, the cold fizz hitting my lips as I took a long sip. It tasted better than I remembered, sharp and free, like I was waking up from a dream I'd been stuck in too long. I went into the living room, sank into the couch, the one Camille picked out, too expensive and too stiff, and flipped on the TV, not caring what was on, just letting the noise fill the space. My phone stayed on the table, untouched, and I didn't check it, didn't wait for the inevitable blow-up. I knew it was coming, Camille's panic, the kids' confusion, but tonight, I didn't owe them anything. I thought about the last time I'd spent money on myself, really spent it, not just gas or groceries or another suit for work. Years, maybe. A fishing rod I'd bought and never used, still in the garage. I'd always told myself there'd be time later, after the mortgage, after the kids' college funds, after Camille's next big idea. Later was now. I finished the beer, set the can down, and went upstairs, the stairs creaking under my weight like they were agreeing with me. I climbed into bed, our bed, but it didn't feel like hers anymore, and lay there, the sheets cool against my skin, my mind quieter than it had been in forever. No one to wake up for, no one to check on, no one to pay for. Just me. I closed my eyes, the darkness wrapping around me like a blanket, and slept, really slept, for the first time in years, no dreams, no worries, just a deep, heavy peace that felt like mine alone. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the blinds, the house still quiet but less empty somehow, like I'd claimed it back for myself overnight. My phone sat on the nightstand, and when I grabbed it, the screen lit up with missed calls: Camille, Leah, Rochelle, one after another, a flood of texts piling up like a storm I'd known was coming. I didn't open them right away, just let the notifications stack. My pulse steady as I got out of bed and shuffled to the kitchen, the hardwood cold under my feet. Coffee first. I needed it strong, black, no sugar, something to ground me before I faced whatever mess was waiting. The machine hissed and sputtered as I leaned against the counter, finally swiping open the phone, my thumb scrolling through the chaos. Camille's first message was casual, almost confused. "Hey, my card isn't working. What's up?" Then Leah's, an hour later. "Dad, why'd you cancel my allowance? I need stuff for school." Rochelle chimed in next, her tone sharp. "Marcus, the mortgage payment bounced. What are you doing?" I sipped the coffee, the heat burning my tongue, and kept reading as the tone shifted, panic creeping in. Camille again. "The hotel charged my backup card, and it failed. Fix this now." Braden's was short, pissed. "Dad, what's your problem?" By the 10th message, they were desperate. Camille's last one, sent at 2 a.m., read, "You're tearing this family apart over some petty grudge." I set the phone down, the mug warm in my hands, and stared out the window at the backyard, the grass overgrown from weeks of neglect. Petty grudge? I'd canceled their free ride, sure, but this wasn't about spite. It was about me finally saying no. I'd spent years pouring everything into them, money, time, energy, while they treated me like a ghost who paid the bills. The Bahamas trip was just the last straw, the moment I saw how little I mattered. I didn't reply, didn't call back, just let the silence sit there, heavy and deliberate, like a wall I was building brick by brick. The phone buzzed again, Leah this time, a voice memo, and I played it, her voice shaky. "Dad, I don't get it. Why are you doing this?" "Mom's freaking out." I almost caved then, my finger hovering over the reply button, the old instinct to fix everything kicking in, but I stopped. They'd figure it out. They had to. I finished the coffee, rinsed the mug, and went to the garage, digging through boxes until I found that old fishing rod, dust coating the handle. I wiped it clean, the metal cool against my palm, and decided I'd take it out soon, maybe the lake an hour away, somewhere quiet. The phone kept buzzing, a steady hum of guilt trips and demands, but I ignored it, grabbing a broom instead, sweeping the kitchen floor, the rhythm calming me. By noon, the calls slowed, replaced by longer texts. Camille's latest, "This isn't funny, Marcus. The kids are scared. Talk to me." Scared? They weren't scared when they left me out, when they sipped drinks on a beach I'd paid for. I didn't owe them fear or answers. I moved to the living room, sank into the couch, and flipped on the TV again, some mindless game show filling the air as I thought about what came next. They'd be back soon. Camille couldn't stretch that trip without my money, and then what? Begging? Yelling? I didn't know, but I wasn't bending this time. I'd slept too well last night, felt too steady today, to let them pull me back into that old dance. The phone lit up again. "Rochelle," all caps, "You're selfish," and I laughed, a real laugh, the sound startling me. Selfish? Maybe. But after years of giving, it felt damn good. I turned the volume up on the TV, the host's voice drowning out the buzz, and leaned back, the fishing rod propped against the wall, a promise to myself I wouldn't break. I was halfway through a sandwich, ham and cheese, nothing fancy, just something to fill the quiet afternoon, when my phone rang, the screen flashing my boss's name, Tom, and I felt a jolt in my chest, a sudden tightness that made me put the bread down. I wiped my hands on a napkin, the kitchen still smelling faintly of coffee, and answered, my voice steady despite the unease creeping up my spine. "Hey, Tom, what's up?" I said, leaning against the counter, expecting some work update, maybe a new project. Instead, he cleared his throat, his tone careful, like he was stepping around something fragile. "Marcus, I need you to come into the office. Now. It's urgent." My stomach dropped. Urgent wasn't a word Tom threw around lightly. I'd worked under him for 8 years, closed deals that kept the company afloat, and he'd never sounded like this. "What's going on?" I asked, but he just said, "We'll talk when you get here," and hung up, leaving me staring at the phone, the hum of the fridge the only sound in the room. I grabbed my keys, my mind racing. Had I screwed up a contract? Missed a deadline? But nothing fit. I've been solid at work, even with the chaos at home. The drive to the office was a blur, traffic lights bleeding together as I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, Camille's text from yesterday still unanswered on my passenger seat. I walked into the building, the receptionist giving me a quick nod, and took the elevator to the 5th floor, my reflection in the metal doors looking tired, older than I remembered. Tom was waiting in his office, door open, his face grim as he waved me in. "Sit," he said, and I did, the leather chair creaking under me as he leaned forward, hands clasped on his desk. "Marcus, HR got a call this morning. From your wife." My breath caught, a cold sweat prickling my neck. "Camille?" "She told them you're emotionally unstable," Tom said, his eyes steady on mine, "that you've been reckless with money, cutting off your family, maybe even a risk to yourself or others. She suggested we keep an eye on you." I sat there, stunned, the words sinking in like stones, heavy and sharp. Emotionally unstable? Reckless? She'd gone after my job, my livelihood, because I'd stopped the cash flow. "That's bullshit," I said, my voice low, anger simmering under the shock. "She's mad because I canceled her cards, Tom. She took the kids to the Bahamas without telling me, left me in the dark, and I cut them off. That's it." He nodded, slow, like he was piecing it together, and I kept going, the floodgates opening. "I've been steady here, you know that. I don't miss deadlines. I don't flake. She's trying to scare me into line." Tom leaned back, exhaling through his nose, and I could see he believed me, the tension in his shoulders easing. "I figured it was something like that," he said. "You've never given me a reason to doubt you. HR's just doing their job, following up. But this stays between us, nothing formal, no paper trail. You okay?" I nodded, though I wasn't sure I was, the betrayal cutting deeper than I'd expected. Camille hadn't just left me out. She tried to break me, to hit me where it hurt most. "Yeah, I'm fine," I lied, standing up, my legs shaky but holding. "Thanks for having my back." He waved it off. "You do the same," and I left, the hallway stretching out too long as I headed back to my car, the air outside sharp against my face. I drove home slower this time, the city fading into dusk, and when I got there, I didn't go straight inside. I sat in the driveway, engine off, staring at the house, our house, but it didn't feel like hers anymore. She'd crossed a line, weaponizing my career, and I couldn't unsee it. I grabbed my phone, ignored the pile of texts from her and the kids, and opened a blank note instead, my thumbs hovering over the keys. I didn't trust therapy, too many questions, too much judgment, but I needed something, a way to get this out. I started typing simple, raw. "She called my boss today. Tried to paint me as crazy. All because I stopped paying for her life." The words flowed, messy and fast, everything about the trip, the money, the years I'd let her walk over me. I wrote about the kids, how they didn't see it yet, how I missed them but couldn't fix this for them anymore. My fingers slowed, the screen blurring as I typed. I'm not the bad guy here. I'm just done. I saved it, no title, just a timestamp, April 3rd, 2025, and locked the phone, the weight in my chest shifting, not gone but lighter. I went inside, grabbed a notebook from the junk drawer, and copied it down, pen-scratching paper, the act grounding me. This was mine, this journal, a place she couldn't touch. I wrote more about the sandwich, the drive, Tom's trust, and by the time I stopped, the house was dark, the clock ticking past 9. I didn't check my phone again, didn't care if she'd called. I ate the rest of that sandwich cold, standing in the kitchen, and thought about what she'd done. She wanted me scared, cornered, but I wasn't. Not anymore. I'd survived her worst today, and I'd keep surviving, one page at a time. I woke up early, the house still wrapped in that quiet I was starting to like, the kind that didn't demand anything from me, and I made coffee again, the routine settling into something I could count on. My phone sat on the counter, buzzing every now and then. Camille, Leah, Rochelle, their messages piling up like unpaid bills, but I didn't look. Not yet. I'd slept decent again, the notebook by my bed with yesterday's mess about the HR call scribbled inside, and it felt good, like I'd dumped the weight somewhere safe. I sipped the coffee, black and bitter, and thought about what Camille had done. Going after my job, trying to twist the story so I'd look like the crazy one. She'd always been good at that, spinning things, making me the problem when the kids fought or the budget got tight. I'd let it slide for years, kept my head down. But now I was done playing defense. I grabbed my laptop, set it up on the dining table, and opened Facebook, not to scroll, not to check likes, but to do something I'd never done before, tell my side. My fingers hovered over the keys, the cursor blinking, and I started typing, slow at first, then faster, the words spilling out like they'd been waiting. I've been quiet too long, I wrote, and I'm tired of it. My wife took our kids and her sister to the Bahamas last week. Didn't tell me. Left me coming home to an empty house after a work trip. I've paid for everything, the house, the schools, the vacations I never got to take, and they didn't even think I deserved to know. I kept it simple, no big accusations, just the facts. I canceled the cards, the tuition, the mortgage payments. Not out of spite, but because I'm done being the guy who gives everything and gets nothing back. Camille called my boss, told HR I'm unstable, tried to jeopardize my job. That's who she is. That's what she does. I didn't sugarcoat it, didn't soften the edges. Why should I? I'm not perfect, but I've held this family together for 16 years. Financially, emotionally, every way I could. They don't see it. Maybe they never will. I stopped, reread it, my coffee cooling beside me, and added one more line. I'm not asking for pity, just setting the record straight. My thumb hovered over post, my chest tight, knowing this would blow up, friends, family, coworkers, all seeing it. But I hit it anyway, the screen refreshing as the words went live. I leaned back, exhaling hard, the house creaking around me like it was holding its breath too. Within minutes, the likes started. First a coworker, then an old high school buddy, and then the comments rolled in, fast and messy. Marcus, what the hell? That's insane, from my cousin Dave. You don't deserve this, from a neighbor I barely talked to. My phone buzzed harder now, not just Camille's crew but others, people I hadn't heard from in years. I didn't reply, just watched it spread, the post jumping from my timeline to shares, the little red notifications climbing past 20, then 50. I finished the coffee, rinsed the mug, and went to the garage, needing to move, to do something with my hands. I grabbed that fishing rod again, started untangling the line, the plastic snapping as I worked, my mind half on the post, half on the lake I'd hit soon. By noon, the phone was a war zone. Camille's texts had shifted to all caps. How dare you put this online? Leah's was softer, confused. Dad, why'd you post that? Everyone's talking. Rochelle called me a coward, said I was airing dirty laundry to play victim. I didn't answer any of them. Let them stew. The post was up to 100 reactions now, and I saw Camille's friends chiming in, defending her. He's exaggerating. She's a saint. But they didn't know the half of it, didn't see the years I'd carried her. I went back inside, grabbed a soda from the fridge, the can cold against my palm, and sat on the couch, refreshing the page. Some guy I worked with years ago wrote, "Man, I always wondered how you kept it together with her." That hit me. People had seen it, suspected it, even when I hadn't. I didn't feel vindicated, not exactly, just seen, maybe for the first time. The lies Camille had spread, cold, unhinged, unstable, were cracking, and I wasn't lifting a finger to fight them anymore. The truth was out there, raw and ugly, and it was enough. I set the phone down, the buzz fading into background noise, and leaned my head back, closing my eyes. The house was still mine, the day was still mine, and whatever came next, screaming, silence, fallout, I'd handle it. I'd already taken the first swing. I woke up to the smell of rain drifting through the cracked window, the air cool and damp against my skin as I lay there, the notebook still open on the nightstand from where I'd scribbled late into the night about that Facebook post. The house felt steady, like it was waiting with me, and I rolled out of bed, my bare feet hitting the floor as I shuffled to the kitchen, the quiet now a friend instead of a ghost. I made coffee again, same black, no nonsense brew, and grabbed my phone, the screen already lighting up with notifications, more than I'd expected overnight. That post I'd thrown out there yesterday had taken off, a wildfire I hadn't planned to start, and I sat at the table, mug steaming, scrolling through the wreckage. Friends from college, cousins I hadn't seen in years, even my Aunt Linda who never liked Camille, they'd all chimed in, some with shock, some with anger, a few with quiet support that hit me harder than the loud ones. "Marcus, I can't believe she did that." My buddy Pete wrote, "You're better than this." My sister-in-law, Tara, who'd always stayed neutral, commented, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was this bad." But it wasn't all on my side. Camille's crew had rallied too, her cousin Dana typing, "This is one-sided nonsense. She's been struggling too." And Rochelle dropping a long rant about how I'd abandoned them, like I was the one sipping cocktails in the Bahamas. I sipped the coffee, the bitterness grounding me, and kept reading, the reaction splitting our world right down the middle, half stunned at Camille's moves, half defending her like she was some martyr I'd wronged. I didn't reply to any of it, didn't need to let them argue, let them pick sides. The truth was out, and I wasn't chasing anyone's approval. My phone buzzed again, a private message this time, and I opened it, surprised to see Jared's name, Camille's cousin, the guy who'd always eyed me like I didn't belong at family dinners. "Hey, Marcus," it started, "I saw your post. I owe you an apology. I bought her story for years, thought you were the stiff one, but this, damn. You were always the one holding it all together. I'm sorry I didn't see it." I stared at that, the words sinking in slow, my chest tightening in a way I hadn't expected. Jared, of all people, the guy who'd laughed at my bad jokes and rolled his eyes at my work stories. He'd seen it now, too late maybe, but still real. I typed back, "Thanks, man. Means something," and hit send, keeping it short, not wanting to dig too deep. I set the phone down, the rain tapping harder against the roof, and thought about what he'd said, holding it all together. I'd never thought of it like that, just saw it as my job, my role, the guy who paid the bills and fixed the leaks. But he was right, and so were the others who'd messaged, the ones who'd suspected Camille's game all along. My old coworker Jen wrote, "I knew she was off. Marcus, always asking you for cash at company picnics." My neighbor Paul said, "You're too good for that crap." Each one chipped away at the story she'd built, the one where I was cold, distant, the mood killer. I got up, rinsed the mug, and went to the living room, the couch sinking under me as I refreshed the post again. 200 reactions now, shares popping up from people I didn't even know. Camille hadn't responded publicly, not yet, but I knew she'd seen it, knew she was seething somewhere, probably plotting her next move. The kids hadn't either. Leah and Braden stayed quiet, and that stung more than I wanted to admit, but I let it sit. They'd come around, or they wouldn't. I couldn't force it. The rain kept falling, a steady drum against the windows, and I grabbed the notebook, flipping to a fresh page, the pen heavy in my hand. "Jared gets it now," I wrote, "and others too. They see her cracking, see what I've carried. It's not about winning, it's about not hiding anymore." I kept going, the words spilling out, how the split reactions felt, how the silence from the kids hurt, how I wasn't sure what came next but didn't care as long as it was mine. The page filled up, ink smudging where my hand dragged, and I stopped, the rain softening outside, the house warm around me. I didn't need everyone on my side, just enough to break her mirror, to show the cracks she'd painted over. And they were there now, plain as day, for anyone who looked. I was in the kitchen, chopping onions for a pot of chili, the first real meal I'd cooked in weeks, when I heard the car pull into the driveway, tires crunching gravel, and my stomach tightened, the knife pausing mid-slice. I knew it was her before the doorbell even rang. Camille's sharp, impatient buzz, the kind she'd used 1,000 times when she forgot her keys or wanted me to carry something. I wiped my hands on a towel, the onion sting lingering in my eyes, and took a slow breath, steadying myself as I walked to the door. The rain from yesterday had cleared, leaving the air crisp, and when I opened it, there she was, Camille, hair pulled back tight, eyes red like she'd been crying, her suitcase dumped on the porch beside her. "Marcus," she said, her voice breaking, "we need to talk." I didn't move, didn't step aside, just stood there in the doorway, the chili simmering behind me, the house warm in mine. She looked smaller than I remembered, her tan faded, her shoulders hunched, but I didn't feel sorry, not after the Bahamas, not after the HR call. "What's there to talk about?" I said, my tone flat, my arms crossing over my chest. She blinked, like she hadn't expected that, and then the tears came, fast and loud, her hands flying up to cover her face. "You've ruined everything," she sobbed. "The kids are a mess. The resort kicked us out when the card failed, and now your stupid post. Everyone's against me." I watched her, the performance unfolding, and felt nothing. No guilt, no urge to fix it, just a cold clarity that surprised me. "You didn't need me in paradise," I said, echoing her own logic back. "So you don't need me now." Her hands dropped, her eyes narrowing, the tears switching off like a faucet. "You're heartless," she snapped, stepping closer, her finger jabbing at the air. I made one mistake, and you're punishing us all. Leah is crying every night. Brayden won't talk to me, and I'm supposed to figure out how to pay for everything? This is your family, Marcus. My jaw tightened, but I didn't flinch, didn't let her in. One mistake, I said, my voice low, steady. You left me out, Camille. You took them and ran, didn't tell me, didn't care. Then you tried to tank my job when I stopped footing the bill. That's not one mistake. That's who you are. She stared at me, her mouth opening then closing, like she couldn't find the script this time. I kept going, the words coming easy now, no shouting, just truth. I've been your bank account, your punching bag, for years. You don't get to cry your way back in. She stepped back, her face twisting. Anger, panic, maybe both. And then she lunged forward again, banging a fist on the doorframe. Let me in, Marcus. This is my house too. I shook my head, my hand firm on the knob. Not tonight. Go figure it out, like I always did. Her eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face. And then she turned shrill, her voice cutting through the quiet street. You're a bastard. You think you can just throw us away? I didn't answer, didn't argue, just shut the door, the lock clicking loud in the silence, her shouts muffled now as she pounded on the wood. I stood there, my back against it, listening as she raged, calling me selfish, cruel, everything she could throw, until her voice broke into sobs again, fading as she stormed off, the car engine roaring to life. I waited, the house settling around me, the chilly smell pulling me back to the kitchen. She was gone for now, and I felt steady, not shaken, not sorry. I stirred the pot, the steam rising, and thought about what I'd said. She didn't need me then, didn't get me now. It was true, and it felt right. Later, after eating alone, the chili better than I'd hoped, I grabbed my laptop, booked a solo trip, something I'd been chewing on since the fishing rod came out. A cabin by a lake, 5 days, no Wi-Fi, just me and the water. No obligations, no apologies, just freedom I hadn't tasted in years. I paid for it with my own account, the one she couldn't touch, and smiled, a real one, small but mine. The phone stayed quiet, no texts from her or the kids, and I didn't check Facebook, didn't care what she'd told the world. I wrote in the notebook instead, the pen scratching fast. She came back today, crying, yelling, same old game. I didn't bend. First time I didn't. Booked the trip. I'm done waiting for permission. I closed it, the house dark now, and went to bed, the sheets cool, the silence deep, my mind already on that lake, the water stretching out endless and free. I was packing a duffel bag for my lake trip, flannel shirts, a pair of boots, that fishing rod I'd been itching to use, when my phone buzzed on the dresser, the screen lighting up with Leah's name, and I stopped, my hand halfway to a folded sweater. It had been days since Camille's blow up at the door, days of quiet that felt good but incomplete without the kids, and seeing Leah's message hit me harder than I expected. I grabbed the phone, my thumb swiping it open, and there it was, short but heavy. Dad, I don't understand why you're doing this. I'm hurt. Mom says you don't care anymore. My chest tightened, a dull ache spreading as I read it again, picturing Leah, 15, all braces and big eyes, typing it somewhere, maybe curled up in a borrowed bed at Rochelle's. I set the bag down, sank onto the edge of the bed, and stared at the words, the house quiet except for the faint hum of the heater kicking on. Brayden's text came next, angrier, sharper. Why are you punishing us? This sucks, Dad. I rubbed my face, the stubble rough against my palms, and felt the old pull, the one that always made me rush in, fix things, smooth it over for them. But I couldn't this time, not the way they wanted. I opened the notebook, flipped to a blank page, and started writing, not to them yet, just to get it straight in my head. Leah's hurt. Brayden's mad. They think I'm the bad guy. Maybe I am to them. But I didn't start this. I kept going, the pen digging into the paper. How Camille had spun it. How they didn't see the years I'd carried us. How I missed them, but couldn't keep bleeding for their mom's choices. I stopped, the page half full, and grabbed a piece of paper instead, a real letter, something they could hold. Dear Leah and Brayden, I wrote, I didn't walk away from you. I walked away from being disrespected. Your mom took you on that trip, didn't tell me, left me out like I don't matter. I've paid for everything, your school, your clothes, this house, and I don't say that to guilt you. I say it because it's true, and I deserve better than being a wallet she opens when she needs it. I canceled the money because I'm done letting her use me, not because I don't love you. I paused, my hand shaking a little, and kept going. You're hurt, and I hate that. Brayden, you're mad, and I get it. But this isn't punishment. It's me standing up. You may not see it now. Maybe you never will. But I'm still your dad. I'm here when you're ready. I just can't chase you through her anymore. I signed it, folded it neat, and addressed an envelope, my throat tight as I sealed it. They might not read it, might rip it up, but I'd said it, and that was enough for now. I stood up, finished packing, the duffel zipping shut with a sound that felt final, and thought about Camille's landlord, some guy she'd rented from after the mortgage stopped. I grabbed my phone, found his number from an old email, and called, my voice steady when he picked up. Hey, this is Marcus Lane, I said. Camille's husband. Just letting you know I won't be covering her rent anymore. She'll have to figure it out. He grunted, surprised. Okay. Thanks for the heads up. And I hung up. No explanation, no apology. They'd manage. Camille always did when she had to, and I wasn't her safety net anymore. I tossed the phone on the bed, grabbed the duffel, and headed downstairs, the letter in my pocket to mail on the way out. The house felt lighter as I locked the door, the sky gray but wide open, the drive to the lake stretching ahead in my mind. I stopped at the mailbox, slid the envelope in, and let the flag snap up, my breath fogging in the cool air. They'd get it tomorrow, maybe the next day, and I wouldn't be here for the fallout. I climbed into the truck, the engine rumbling to life, and pulled out, the road unspooling as I left the city behind. The kids' words stuck with me. Hurt, punishing, but I kept driving, the trees thickening, the radio low, my hands steady on the wheel. I'd set the boundary, drawn the line, and I wouldn't cross it to beg them back. They'd understand someday, or they wouldn't. I couldn't carry that too. The lake came into view hours later, a flat shimmer under the clouds, and I parked, the cabin waiting, small and rough, but mine for 5 days. I stepped out, the air sharp with pine, and felt the quiet settle, not heavy now, just right. I woke up to the sound of the lake lapping against the shore, a soft rhythm sneaking through the cabin's thin walls, and for a moment I just lay there, the sleeping bag warm around me, the air cold on my face, no rush to move. The past weeks, Camille's tantrum, the kids' texts, the Facebook storm felt far off, like a city I'd left behind, and out here, with the trees rustling and the water stretching endless, I could breathe. I climbed out of bed, my socks sliding on the wood floor, and started a fire in the little stove, the crackle filling the cabin as I boiled water for coffee, the kind you pour from a kettle, not a machine. My phone was off, tucked in the duffel, and I hadn't checked it since I mailed that letter to Leah and Braden. No texts, no voicemails, no guilt trips clawing at me. I sipped the coffee, bitter and hot, and stepped onto the porch, the boards creaking under my boots, the lake glinting under a pale sun. I'd made it here, alone, no one to answer to, and it hit me how long it had been since I'd had that, years, maybe decades, always tied to someone else's needs. I grabbed the fishing rod, the line still untangled from that day in the garage, and walked to the dock, the wood damp underfoot, my breath fogging in the chill. I cast out, the lure plopping into the water, and sat down, the quiet wrapping around me like a coat I hadn't worn in too long. No bites came, but I didn't care. It wasn't about the fish, just the doing, the being here. I thought about the kids, wondered if they'd read the letter, if they'd tossed it, but I let it go, the lake smoothing out the edges of that ache. They'd reach out when they were ready, or they wouldn't, and I'd be okay either way. I reeled in slow, cast again, the motion steadying me, and realized I was sleeping better out here, eating better too, simple stuff, chili from a can, bread I'd brought, no one nagging about diets or dishes. Back home, I'd started saving money, the account growing without Camille's hands in it, and it felt good, solid, like I was building something for me. I laughed a little, the sound startling a bird from the trees, thinking how I'd feared this, loneliness, silence, but it wasn't that at all. It was peace. The kind I'd never found in that big house, always chasing her approval, their smiles. I set the rod down, stretched out on the dock, the sun warming my face, and picked up the guitar I'd hauled along, an old acoustic I hadn't touched since Braden was a baby. My fingers fumbled at first, the strings biting into my skin, but I found a chord, then another, a rusty tune coming back, some folk song I'd loved in college, before life got loud. I played soft, the notes mixing with the water, and felt myself loosen, the guy I'd been before the mortgage, the kids, the endless grind. Hours slipped by like that, fishing, playing, napping in the sun, and when dusk crept in, I built another fire, the cabin glowing as I cooked dinner, the smell of wood smoke and beans filling the space. I grabbed the notebook, the pen smooth in my hand, and wrote. Weeks without her voice, their demands, and I'm still here. Better. The loneliness I thought I'd hate is serenity now. I'm learning. Love without respect is just control. Family without honesty is just a show. I stopped, the fire popping, and added, I didn't ruin the mood. I showed the truth. And it's mine now. I closed the book, the words settling in me, final and sure. The lake whispered outside, the night deep, and I slept hard, no dreams, just rest. The next days blurred, more fishing, more music, hikes through the pines, and when I packed up, the duffel heavier with damp clothes. I wasn't ready to leave but knew I could handle going back. The drive home was quiet, the radio off, my mind on the house, the life I'd shape now. I pulled in late, the porch light on, and stepped inside, the silence different, welcoming, not empty. No text waited, no calls, and I didn't check. I unpacked slow, the guitar leaning by the couch, the rod in the garage, and felt it. Peace, hard one, mine to keep. I'd lost the performance, the control, but found myself in the wreckage, and that was worth the price.